guys, today is a torque converter removal day. I have zoomed in to the back of my engine. From the front, as you can see, those two bolts, they are torque converter bolts. What's going to need to happen is you'll need to rotate your harmonic balancer and get every single bolt off. So I'm gonna try to rotate and show you exactly. See, you got these bolts and then those right there, so there's a total of 6 bolts to remove. Of course, over here I have the oil pan off, and it's kind of like a piece of cake. There's nothing in the way, but usually the Mercedes would actually tell you to remove this little thing, which I'm not going to do this time. There is a bolt right there, because whenever you get the oil pan, it's just everything is so like in a way, and even if you remove this little thing, you'll still need to use some kind of bendable like ratchet attachments to where you could use like these long extensions and get underneath there and remove it through this triangular looking hole where it's usually covered by a plastic piece. Of course, in this engine it was not actually covered. Whenever I removed the oil pan, it was missing. Somebody forgot to put it back, or maybe it just fell out or something, because usually just lightly snap in place, kind of like those plastic pieces that's located right underneath the torque converter inside of the transmission. I guess it's just, you know, to keep the dust out, but with it not being there, I guess that was okay too. So we're gonna remove those bolts, and the torque converter should slide off the engine, and maybe not today, but I will be actually installing this on another transmission, well, this original transmission that I have removed on there, and then I have to remove a transmission from my black Sprinter and install this transmission with this torque converter, because this transmission here, it's I mean, you might be thinking it's kind of crazy, but this transmission only has 430,000 miles. And some of you may be thinking, wow, that's a lot, it's time to replace it. Maybe some of you even dealt it with a problem with the transmission failing less than 200,000 miles, but I gotta say, I had pretty good luck with mine, and that's maybe because I properly maintained it and stuff. I know kind of like what to do, and those little things that I know, it's enough to keep my transmission running. The original transmission in my black Sprinter, it's a 2006 Sprinter. Right now it has 1,050,000 miles on it. I have never replaced the transmission. The only thing I have replaced in that transmission is the conductor plate 2 times. First time is because, you know, it was dirty and it failed, and of course if you clean it up, reset the codes, most likely it's gonna work. But if you're a local driver and just trying to, you know, save some money, it's worth a shot, because you're just local, and if your Sprinter's gonna go into limp mode again, yeah, just go ahead and make an investment and just put another conductor plate in there. But I'm kind of long distance expediter, and I'm sure a lot of you guys that's watching this, you're an expediter, and spending $150, it's way worth it. If your transmission is gonna fail and that load is gonna make you $1,000, well, you know, $150, it seems like a drop in the bucket then. So might as well just replace the conductor plates inside the transmission. It's the electronic portion that has a speed sensor on there. They get dirty. So when I replaced mine the second time, it did not need replacing, but I think I drove another like what, 200,000 miles since I installed the last one. So I kind of thought, you know, it's not giving me problems right now. I'm changing my oil anyways and the filter. I already have the oil pan off on the transmission. I drained all the oil from the torque converter. I always do that. Every time when you change it, change the torque converter oil as well. That's actually considered a flush in the transmission by Mercedes. They say they flush it if they actually replace the torque converter fluid, which is kind of crazy, because they only replace half of the fluids and they think it's good enough. Well, it's not good enough for me. It's recommended that you change your oil every 30,000 miles. Yes, the oil is going to get expensive, but transmission's way more expensive, and it's worth the extra investment to change your fluids and remove your valve body at least every 100,000 miles. Remove the valve body, disconnect all the solenoids, get that conductor plate out of there, clean it up and everything, clean up the valve body, clean up your solenoids, and pop everything right back. And then you could have a transmission that could last you a million miles, like it has in mine. It still hasn't failed. This is preventive maintenance again on my part. By replacing this transmission and cleaning it up and everything, I'm hoping to get another, I don't know, 400, 500,000 miles out of it, easy. Of course, transmission failing it also could mean other things. It's how heavy your loads are. I try to keep mine around 2,500 pounds. I usually don't go heavier than that. Yes, occasionally I'll have a 3,000 pound load and a little bit more than 3,000, but that's because it's overlooked by people that's booking the load, or they added some stuff at the shipper. And I usually don't decline the load. I just go ahead and take it. With all my proper maintenance, I have no issues going up hills. You know, all those mountains, it's like it's no problem. But I drive my Sprinter very easy. I usually drive it only 65 miles an hour according to the GPS. Of course, it's going to show you on a speedometer that you're doing approximately like 70 miles an hour, but it's really about 65 if you look at your GPS. So I try to keep it at 65, 63, 64, kind of like that. It ensures that I have a good maintained vehicle. It's gonna run properly for a long time. I'm not there to race. I'm there just to make a delivery for a load, and plus it minimizes the chances you're gonna get a ticket. One of the advices that I'll make to some of you guys that you're driving, and you could take it or you could ignore it, but if you are driving a long distance and you got a, let's say like a trip that might be like 1,000 miles by the GPS, but you're gonna look in a book, an actual map, and you're gonna say, you know, this is shorter route over here through these little towns and everything with a lot of stoplights. I don't recommend you take those. First of all, you'll be driving a lot of stop and go, which is wear and tear in your transmission. It's constantly having to stop, shift, move. I mean, there's some wear and tear in everything. Your brakes, your engine, your like, the actual cam gears and your camshafts. I mean, they're wearing out. Your chain is constantly being, you know, like tightened and stuff. I just recommend just do all the highway miles. Just drive as much highway as you can. I mean, even if you have to go like another 50 to 100 miles more, I mean, it's a lot less wear and tear on your vehicle if you're gonna drive, you know, on highway without stopping and all the time, you know, kind of like driving through those little towns and stop and go. It's just so much better. I mean, my brake pads, they last me, man, shoot, like way over 100,000 miles. I don't have to replace them, and sometimes even like 140, 150,000 miles. I don't have to do no brakes, no rotors, no nothing. I mean, it really minimizes the wear and tear in your vehicle. So maybe this is why it's lasting me so much. And I'm very light-footed. I do light acceleration. Occasionally, I'll actually, you know, just to get the engine kind of like, I don't know, I'm kind of like thinking, you know, feel the power, like, you know, like I actually hit the gas, hit the gas pedal like on the highway just to kind of, I don't know, clean up the system or something in the Sprinter, if you could call that. I do that very rarely, and just to feel the power, if it's got the power and stuff, you know, just to keep things moving. But I don't think diesels really like you to really push them all the time, and you know, they like highway miles, they like to go long distances, but they don't want to be like driven hard, especially if you got like 02 to 03 models. Those fail a lot often than the model from 2004 through 2006. And these Sprinters, I don't care what kind of model you drive in 2002 through 2006, injector failure will happen if you drive these things over 70 miles an hour. Your injectors do not like to be driven hard. And of course, also why they might fail is because they're installed the wrong way. That somebody installed the seals the wrong way, and they didn't torque them properly. But the seals on the fuel injectors, they actually mean a lot more to do them properly. you know, to actually like install them properly. I mean, it really means a lot, because a seal that's going to be installed the wrong way it might last you 20 miles, it might last you 20,000 miles, and then it's going to fail, and then you're going to have Black Death. All this diesel's going to be leaking out of there from the top of your cylinder head, and it's going to really dirty things up over there. It's just really nasty stuff. But anyways, I know I've been talking for quite a while. I'm gonna go ahead and start getting these bolts apart. This is gonna be a fairly easy job. I'm just trying to remove the torque converter. That's it. And just give you some guys' advice. You know, I've been driving a while, and I have a lot of different advices, you know, for different situations to keep your vehicle in really good maintenance, to save money, because, you know, most of you guys will know everything's expensive in these sprinters. Nobody knows how to work on them, and they're gonna try to rip you off. And when you're gonna go to these places, that's like, you don't know who you're going to, like some kind of mechanic, they're just gonna start throwing parts at it because they don't know what they're doing, and because they're trying to rip you off. So I'm not like trying to be negative, but I have friends that spend $20,000 each year to maintain their sprinter at all these shops, and the only money I spend is the parts, and most of the parts I find online. It saves me quite a bit of money, and you know, that's it. I just put the part on and I just keep going and do preventive maintenance. That's it. I don't spend $20,000 each year. The only time I've spent any money was when I actually bought a brand new engine, and that made a lot of sense to buy a brand new engine, because a brand new engine from Mercedes cost me $7,000. You might say, wow, where you get a cheap engine like that? But Mercedes will tell you it's brand new engine, but if you're gonna talk to the shop foremans and who knows what, I mean, it's gonna look brand spanking new. But the fact of the matter is, it's been remanufactured, so they take it back to the factory and they put everything new inside. So it was an old engine, but they completely remanufactured. They put you new fuel injectors, new turbo, new everything. I mean, you guys could see one of my videos on a brand new engine, and I already put 200,000 miles on mine, and no problems. I think $7,000 was worth the investment. Some of you might think that's crazy, you know, to spend $7,000 on a brand new engine. I guess everybody, you know, it means different things to everybody, and to me $7,000 is worth it, because that means no more little things failing on you every time you drive and you're making deliveries. If you're like long distance, I think $7,000 is worth the investment to keep your van out of the shop, keep you making money. And when your engine fails, then you got a dilemma to fix it or just go ahead and buy a new van. And buying a new van could cost you $45,000, $50,000. They're not cheap, these Mercedes Sprinters. And once you get it, you're gonna have a whole other list of problems. So it's like, I don't know, you know, everybody has to make their own decision, you know. And with me, when my engine failed, when they threw a rod right through the side of the engine, and the engine had, I mean, my vehicle had 844,000 miles. So it was quite a bit of miles. And yeah, it seemed like crazy to put a new engine in there. But I kind of thought about it, and I said, you know, if I spend $7,000 on a brand new engine, it's gonna be no payments. I could pay cash for it and stay out of the shops and make money. And that's exactly what happened. And with that came a host of other benefits. I was able to buy 4 sprinters and all the savings that I did. I was able to buy a house, 2 properties, and I paid cash for everything. And since I do all the remodeling myself and I find everything myself, I don't have to pay anybody any money because it's a savings. So it just keeps giving you benefits and benefits and benefits. But anyways, I'm gonna go ahead and start removing this torque converter. Guys, here's a little tip for you. As I try to remove the torque converter bolts, of course this harmonic balancer, it's actually trying to move and it's making things difficult. So here's the solution. Take your bar, this is a number 27 socket, You know, you could put a piece of pipe in something, but I have this bar right here. This is used to tighten up the load on footbeds. And as I'm churning the bolt underneath now, it's actually digging into the ground. You could kind of see what it's doing here. And that's it. It's stopping, you know, the idler, you know, pulley from moving. I already have loosened a couple bolts. I got a special kind of like a piece, you know, this extension. It's rounded, so it allows me to kind of like do it at any angle. I do have the pieces that's bendable. So that little piece kind of helps things a little bit. Maybe right now, you know, I don't need it since I have all this room to work with it. These bolts are kind of tight, but this is just a middle kind of ratchet here, and it works just fine. I just put 2 hands in it. That's it. Those bolts coming off. So this is how you could, you know, lock it up in place. And also, you could use the same method as a trick to remove this harmonic balancer. And the way you do that is without actually putting any muscle in it, without you having to remove all the stuff that's in the way. If you're trying to remove your harmonic balancer, you could stick that wrench in there. Depending on which direction your engine is rotating, once you put it up like this and it digs into the ground, go start your vehicle up, and by it starting up, it's actually going to undo the bolt on the harmonic balancer. And don't worry, your harmonic balancer is not going to be flying off, because you're going to still need a pulling tool to get it off. It's really on there, pretty solid. I already have removed this harmonic balancer yesterday, and I put it right back because you know, I don't have the harmonic balancer puller, and there's really no reason for me to really be pulling this off right now. But I did undo the bolt, and to undo this bolt, it's counterclockwise to undo it. So, so let me kind of think here. Well, anyways, I cannot really figure out right now at this point which direction this harmonic balance is actually spinning, because if it's rotating counterclockwise, yeah, it's gonna undo the bolt exactly the way this is right now. So, which I'm kind of thinking it maybe spins counterclockwise, but who knows? I'm not an expert, so it's just if it does, then the way it's actually located right now, it would work to try to undo it itself. So okay, I'm gonna get these bolts out of there and spin it over for the next set. Okay, the second set of bolts are out. I'm ready for the third. Guys, I must admit this is going pretty easy. Removing it's not hard. So if you want to remove your torque converter, go ahead. It's going to be pretty easy. Yeah, you're gonna have some stuff in the way, but I don't know, just like 6 bolts. It just doesn't seem like it's that difficult. It's only taking me kind of like 5 minutes to remove it. I know the video's kind of long because I'm talking, but I think some of my advice might be good for somebody. Some of you might know way more than me, and I wish I could hear your advice. You could either put it in the comments or send me a link to your YouTube channel or your video, and I will gladly watch it. I watched other videos about different topics whenever I try to learn something, and they help me. So, I mean, YouTube is definitely a nice information place that everybody just shares freely, and blogs and everything, so it's kind of cool. Anyways, I'm gonna get these things rotated and go ahead and take those things off. Alright, the last bolts are coming out. I got them loose. And once you get them loose, they should actually come up right easy. You can just take your extension bar and just do it by hand. They're not long bolts, so it's not difficult. Yeah, it looks like right there. There it is. And ready for the next one. It looks like after this bolt, next thing's up is me actually going underneath and pulling off the torque converter. I've never pulled one off, so it might be easy, might be hard. Alright, here we go, guys. Here's the torque converter. Sorry that it's kind of close, but I kind of have no room back here since I'm right where the transmission should be. and I'm actually sitting up. So I haven't tried removing it yet, so let me see here. I may have to put the camera down because I have no gloves, and holding my phone and doing it with one hand might not be that easy. So I'm gonna try to pull on it, and I'll let you know how easy it's coming out. Down now. So this torque converter is a little bit more further away. I've tried pulling on it. It kind of lightly goes like shakes a little bit. Well, not like with one hand, but it's really not pulling off that easy. But it should come off. All the bolts are out, so it should. I think it just needs to get loose. I'm just hoping installing it will not be difficult, because that's the part where it's going to be difficult to install. But to install it, guys, you'll need to actually put this on the transmission and then slide it on. Because if you try to install the torque converter before that and put all the bolts back, most likely you will not be able to install your transmission. Maybe some people have done it successfully, but usually that doesn't work. Even by the book, on the Mercedes book, they actually put the torque converter on the transmission, measure the distances and stuff, and see if it, it goes on there kind of well. I'm going to actually do that too. It's going to be done in another video. We'll measure and see if it's supposed to be exact distances and stuff, the way it's supposed to be by the book. And then once, of course, you install the torque converter, then spin it and install it. So, alright, here we go. Second chance of pulling this thing off. Second go at it. So far, I've been trying to pull it off for less than a minute. And basically what I've been doing is I've been rotating it and lightly tapping with the butt of the hammer against this, not with the actual hammer. So what I'm thinking is happening is, it's kind of rusted here, and basically over time it's just being held by rust, I'm thinking. Also might be just a good seal on the torque converter, but I think this is a major part of it, because it kind of goes inside, and this is why when you install it, I could actually see why this would not fit for some people when they're trying to install the transmission, because the way this thing's supposed to be on there. Can you guys see this? Let me try to zoom in. Alright. Okay, I'm gonna try not to shake it. Look at this. You see how there's like a little groove here in this gear? Right there. The transmission portion of the torque converter, goes inside of that groove. So if you're not gonna have this gear be the exact right position when you're trying to install your transmission, then you're not going to be in luck. And what they recommend you by the book is to actually have it exactly as it is, with those holes being right there on the opposite end of it. Try to zoom out because it's kind of hard to keep it steady. So with the holes being there, in the transmission portion, that's got the holes at the bottom, it should also be at the bottom. If that's going to be somewhere on the side, there's no way you're going to install this thing. You're going to struggle, and not going to really know why, and this is kind of common sense. Of course, some of you guys know exactly this issue. I am trying to explain this for people like me that's doing this for the first time. This is my first time as well. I'm just a go-doer, just going to do everything myself, and I want to teach other people that want to do it themselves without being scared, and just remove it themselves and save a bunch of money. Because it might seem like crazy a lot of work, but it's really not. Just take it one day at a time and you could do it. Alright, the torque converter is out. It took me, again, less than a minute to try to pull it out. It came out quite easy. The only thing that was kind of going inside is this little thing going inside that hole, so it was really not holding it that much. And of course, these grooves, and you could tell they're everywhere. They're on top, they're on the sides, and that's where your transmission goes. So you would need to, for the installation, have it aligned like this, like an upside down Mercedes sign. And then, of course, when you're installing the transmission in a torque converter, I hope that doesn't fall, install it like that, like upside down Mercedes sign. Then you're gonna find those holes, align it perfectly, and you'll be able to install it, because even if the holes doesn't align, you could always kind of got a little play in here, maybe like less than an inch, but you could still be able to, you know, rotate it and put everything back. So yeah, it's finally out, and what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna pull it out, inspect it and stuff, and what Mercedes recommends that you do is you lightly grease this torque converter wheel before you install it. Lightly grease it, and I could kind of see why. It's to keep it from rusting up like this, because it's not even greased up like it's supposed to, and it might keep things smooth for you for the installation portion, and rotating properly with the proper balance. You don't have to put too much, but as you kind of notice when you're buying your rotors, they got a lot light little grease on there. But I recommend you use some kind of good grease. I'm not sure which is the best one, but I would recommend just get the good stuff, some kind of synthetic grease to put it on there so it's gonna last. And just a light coat of it. You don't have to really heavily coat this thing. And that's it. You know, it's gonna really keep things nicely. So I'm gonna pull it out and show you guys something else about it. Guys, another important thing. You see this 2x4 that's sticking up there? It's holding up the side of the engine. This is the only thing that's supporting this engine right now. It is not that heavy. It's still got its motor mount, but you need to keep it supported. And what I did is I inserted it right through the bars over there, so it's not going to go forward, it's not going to go back. And at the bottom here, I tapped it in with the hammer, so it was first angled. And since I have a ground here, there's no, you know, pavement and stuff. I tapped it in there with a hammer for it to hold. But even if you have some kind of cement or something, I mean, I think it's even going to be easier. Just take the 2x4 and then, you know, you could fix the bottom to something that's not going to actually slip. So you could still do it. Yeah, I just wanted to cover that, because whenever you're removing the torque converter, you're going to need to support the engine with something, because if you're going to stick something in the middle, like that across, it's going to block the holes. So how are you going to be removing these little bolts? You will not be able to even see them. So this would make sense in a lot of situations. Now that's if the oil pan is off. If the oil pan is on, probably similar thing you'll need to do. But then again, there's probably other ways of doing it. But I like this because I mean, it keeps things out of the way. And Mercedes kind of tells you to stick a piece of block in there somewhere. They're not really good at explaining exactly how it goes, but if you're gonna do it the wrong way, it's just gonna block the holes for you, and it's just gonna really make your job that much more difficult. When you're trying to reach through the oil pan opening to undo these torque converter bolts, you want to have as much space as you can have and as much visual as you could have. Shoot, it might even help to try to kind of like lift your engine up a little bit somehow, you know, just a little bit, to just give you just maybe a couple inches more room, and that's going to be enough. I'm not sure if you could use a jack for that or what, but well, I could imagine a jack would work. Maybe put a jack and put some kind of piece of wood like that, and just, of course it's going to be shorter than this, and just prop it up a little bit, and then you could adjust the height as you're going along, you know. Because with the transmission not supporting this end portion of the engine, I mean, the engine just wants to go down, and if it's going to go down, it might break some stuff, especially if you don't have stuff disconnected. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and pull this torque converter out of here. Alright, the torque converter is out, and it's in the back of my Sprinter right now. It still has oil inside. As you could tell, here's the oil fill plug right there. I was not able to get to it since the engine was locked up. Due to one of the main bearings being twisted, I have it in one of my videos that I was showing actually why this engine was locked up. I could not get to this bolt because it was way on the top, and so I could not drain the fluids. It's making the torque converter just a little bit more heavier, because I think it holds approximately 4 quarts of oil. Some of it leaked out through this hole once I pulled the transmission out, so whatever oil was in here, and it was really tightly packed, it actually was able to leak out of there. So this is kind of interesting for me to see this torque converter being out. due to really me never actually seeing one up close. Not even sure how does it really work, how does it actually pushes the oil under pressure inside of the transmission, because this acts like an oil pump for your transmission, pumps all your oil through the valve body, to the solenoids. To me, it was kind of like a mind-boggling type of thing. I mean, how does it really work? Because I didn't design it. I mean, I'm not a engineer, so now it makes a lot of sense. I mean, it really makes a lot of sense. I mean, you could tell the back end is closed. I mean, when, oh crap, some of this oil came out. Yeah, which is no problem. I'm gonna clean it up. So yeah, with the transmission being attached here, right through this hole, I mean, all the oil is definitely going to travel from the transmission to the torque converter, and eventually it's going to fill everything up. I do want to kind of like straighten some things out, because there was a lot of misinformation that's going out there from mechanics, then from, you know, regular people as well. Some of them will tell you you cannot replace that transmission oil yourself, you need to take it to the dealer and they need to pump the oil in there using some kind of special machine. And maybe they do, maybe they don't, but you do not need no special machine. You do not need to take it to the dealer in order to put the oil in there. What you're gonna need to do is, when you're actually ready to put the oil inside of your transmission, let me see here if I have the actual oil fill plug. I actually took it off, but I want to show you guys what it looks like. This is one of my Sprinters that has only 290,000 miles. I just acquired it recently. This van runs and everything. You could drive it. However, it's got a bad head gasket, and that's whole another video. What I wanted to show you guys is this oil fill plug. As you could see, it's not coming out of there right now. Okay, it's really stuck in there. So some of you guys might think, huh, only the dealer could get to it, or some of you might know exactly what's going on, but it's being held in by this little red piece. So you could either try to stick something underneath. I'm sticking my nail underneath, and you could see it's already moving, this little red piece. But you're gonna need to just have a screwdriver, or, you know, something thin, and just push it out. So I'm not going to be actually removing it right now. There's just no need. It's obviously a transmission fill tube. What you're going to need to do is just get yourself a regular, not even a transmission type of fill jug like they sell in the store, because you don't need it. Your transmission fill tube is right here. So you're going to need a small funnel, just enough, you know, to where you could stick it in like nicely, like in a pipe where it's not going to fall out on you. And as you're trying to add transmission fluid, and you drain that out of torque converter, you drain that out of the whole transmission, like there's no oil in there at all. Of course, there's always going to be some remains of oil, like transmission lines. There might still be some in the valve body if you haven't removed the valve body, and there's just a lot of places for the oil to hide. Typically, a transmission will hold about 9.5 quarts of oil, but usually if you're replacing, you could do about 8.5 to 9 quarts. I know sometimes people may say if you're gonna put overfill it, it's gonna do something crazy. Not really. If you're gonna put 9 quarts in here, and you know, you put too much, it's just gonna find its way out of there, and it's going to find the weakest portion where to push this oil out, and it can do a little damage. Okay, it can do a little damage. I will, you know, be honest. But it's not extensive damage, and you could actually check if it actually did or not. So here's where the oil's gonna come out if you're gonna overfill it. If you're gonna overfill it, it's gonna come out at the end of the dipstick. You know, this transmission fill tube that's going inside of the transmission. It's gonna actually come out through the top of that. It's going to push it out in the axis. And if your 13-pin connector hasn't been changed in a while, it's got a bad seal over there, what it's going to do is going to find its way through the transmission, through the 13-pin connector seal. It's going to find its way to the wires, and then yeah, some nasty things could happen. I mean, it could really push your fluids up the wires, and I know this sounds crazy, but it's going to push it up the wires all the way up to your seat where you're sitting on the driver's seat, and that's where your transmission module is located. And it's actually going to cause your transmission module to get wet with fluid, You're probably going to wonder how it ever got there, but it's going to cause some problems. It's going to basically cause your transmission to go into limp mode. And that's one of the issues usually you'll find. Your transmission goes into limp mode. You're thinking, okay, what's up? Is it my speed sensor, conductor plate, you know, that's being dirty? Or it could just be that, that module being bad. And the solution to the problem, and if it's the module, I mean, if it still hasn't burned it out, just clean your module up. I would recommend you replace the wiring because, I mean, you know, you got fluid in there. Most likely it's gonna, again, cause some problems, which that could be a job in itself, replacing the wiring. I mean, it could suck. You know, I don't think it's gonna be that difficult, but still, you're gonna have to get the wires and, you know, run them through. But whenever your transmission a module is dirty with oil, you're gonna need to replace a 13-pin connector, which is located on the side of the engine, side of the transmission. It's that little plastic piece. I actually recommend replacing it on every oil change. It's a piece that costs between $7 and $13, depends on what dealer wants to, you know, how much do you want to charge. I've seen them at both prices. Both prices, it could still be reasonable if it's gonna save you a transmission module and some problems along the way. So just always replace that. Always replace your transmission oil pan for the transmission seal, you know, and of course your filter when you're doing it. And always drain your transmission fluids and out of the torque converter and out of the actual transmission. So what I wanted to kind of get to is why I actually got this hood open. So you're getting ready to fill your transmission fluid, and you don't have to pump it in there and stuff. Make sure your vehicle is off. Do not turn it over yet. Just start slowly filling it up, and it's gonna take about 8 quarts, and you're gonna start seeing that maybe it's already not sinking well enough. So you could stop right there, you know, put this transmission plug back. You don't have to put it back. It's not like it's gonna shoot the oil out of there. It just doesn't do that, because you check your transmission fluid with the engine being on, not being off. So you'll actually need to, when you get in there, start your engine, and you know, before you even start your engine, okay, before you even start your engine, just start shifting through all the gears. Just twist your key forward and start shifting. Shift, you know, like on first, you know, second, third, you know, neutral, drive, and, you know, just shift through all of those. Then start your engine up and shift through every single one of them, okay? Then come back and add whatever more fluid you need to add. If you added like 6 quarts, then you're gonna need to probably add another 2.5 quarts of oil, because, you know, it needs to kind of get down in there. And the reason you're shifting is so that all the solenoids start pumping, and the torque converter, it's trying to get all its oil, so then you're gonna have more space in the transmission to put more fluids in there. And that's the way you do it. I mean, it's really simple. I'm not trying to be confusing, but I will be making another video when I install the transmission torque converter. I'll be adding all the oil and stuff, and you could see exactly like what I'm doing. The reason I'm explaining this thing, even though it sounds like a common sense, but a lot of guys, they're scared of changing their own transmission fluid. They'll take it to the dealer and have them do it, and they're not cheap. I've asked the dealer how much they charge to actually replace all the oil and replace the conductor plate, and they charge like $900. Okay, so I would not want to spend that. I'd much rather spend $150 on a conductor plate and plus get, you know, the new oil filter for the transmission, the seal, the 13-pin connector, and the conductor plate. Well, conductor plate is about $150. Just put all those things on there yourself and get oil. You know, they do recommend you use 134A. I mean ATF 134. But you could actually use Shell Rotella. I mean, excuse me, what am I talking about? Shell Rotella. Valvoline Max Life. Okay, Valvoline Max Life transmission. I'm going to show you what it looks like. Okay, guys, this is the Max Life, Valvoline Max Life, full synthetic ATF. This is what I've been using. This is exactly what I use in my transmission. In my transmission, you know, with me not being the first owner, I bought the van with 650,000 miles. I mean, it was in horrible shape. I mean, it really was. So when I started using this type of oil, the transmission actually became alive again. I mean, before it would not shift properly. I mean, it really looked like I needed a new transmission. And I was actually told by a good mechanic, he says, he changed my oil, you know, for me because, you know, at the time I didn't have a place to change it, and, you know, we kind of did it together. And he says, yeah, you got another probably 20,000 miles out of this transmission, is gonna die. And that was probably around 600, maybe 60, 70,000 miles ahead on the van. But guess what? It's 1,050,000 miles and it's still going. Some of you might disagree with me. You're gonna say, yeah, well, what is this American stuff, oil? I mean, you need to put German stuff because it is a Mercedes after all. But check this out. For the argument's sake, this is a Mercedes Neg 1 transmission. Look at this, Mercedes-Benz Neg 1 transmission. And I mean, if you don't believe this, then I guess don't believe it. But some of you might not be aware. Since the Daimler, Chrysler, and Mercedes had this little, you know, I don't know, like if you could call it marriage, you know, like a business partnership or whatever. And Dodge sold all Mercedes vehicles, and you know, and of course now Dodge doesn't sell Mercedes Sprinters anymore. They're selling the ProMasters now, which is from Italy, probably with their own engine. I'm not sure what actually engine looks like because I really only focus on the Sprinter. But Dodge started using, and of course Chrysler, you know, and Dodge, they started using Mercedes transmissions. Shoot, they started using Mercedes bearings in some of their cars, and you know, Dodge Chargers and stuff. So this Mercedes transmission is found in a lot of vehicles. You'd be surprised. The Jeep Liberty has it, you know, and Chrysler Sebring has it. There's Chrysler Sunfire has the transmission. I've seen it, you know. So, you know, they started using American transmission. This is why they have their own oil that they're using. Obviously, they're not going to be going to the Mercedes dealer to buy their oil for their own American cars. So this is the appropriate oil. Some might claim you don't have all the additives in here, you know, that kind of stuff. It's just going to wear out your transmission. But I looked inside of the transmission. There's really not much to wear out inside. You know, maybe some of you will disagree, but with me doing 1,050,000 miles on my transmission and using this cheap oil, and everything's shifting properly, and every time I'm replacing, I'm usually replacing red oil. Unless I really ignore changing the oil properly, then it would, of course, get dirty. But I have no problems out of this oil, and the reason I'm sharing this is it's because it's cheap. This little, you know, jug here, it cost about $4.50. This probably maybe like $18 or something, because you save as you buy more. And what I would do is just buy 2 of these and 1 of those for your transmission change. Pour 2 of these inside of your transmission, and pour maybe like half, and leave the other half if you want to, you know, top it off. And of course they sell the transmission dipstick that you could buy, because they don't come with a dipstick. And usually Mercedes would want to charge you one, like about $80 for one. They call it a tool, a special transmission tool, which a tool, kind of funny name for it. You could actually buy them on eBay, buy them on Google. It's gonna cost you between $13 and $20 to buy your own transmission fluid dipstick and not be ripped off. They're very long for some of you guys that's seen them, and the way you use that thing is you stick it all the way down until it cannot go no more. And it's got a measuring you know, thing in there, like you could actually see the lines where it's full or not full. Of course, have the transmission, the engine running as you're checking it, and then just check your level. Of course, you know, give the transmission time to kind of like absorb all the fluids, you know, at least let it run for about a minute or 2, and then put your dipstick in there. Well, actually not a minute or 2. That would be kind of like if you just really don't care exactly how much it is. But have the engine warm up at normal temperature, operating temperature. Then it's going to give you the correct reading. Have you overfilled your transmission fluid? Have you underfilled it? And then top it off. Another thing I want to point out is do not use any additives. Okay, there's some additives by you know, Lucas Oil. Do not use that stuff. These transmissions, it's a hydraulic transmission, electronic hydraulic transmission, it's got very tiny holes, and by you using it, you're gonna really mess things up. So just don't use it. It's gonna start slipping and whatnot, and I just don't recommend it. And by the way, with me having my transmission at 1,050,000 miles on my Sprinter, I have not even changed clutches. It's original torque converter. The only thing that's not original on it is the conductor plate. And shoot, maybe I would have even been able to keep that, because it's an electronic part that operates with 2 magnets and a speed sensor. I just don't see why it should go bad, technically. If you clean those magnets up, it should last. But like any other sensors, it's got sensors on there. Sensors fail, and you have to replace sensors, and sensors are a major cause of many problems on these Sprinters. I think it's worth changing. You know, especially in the transmission. Yes, you're gonna spend about $140, $150 on it, but you know, get online. Do not, of course, get at the dealer. The dealer's gonna rip you off. I'm not sure what the dealer charges for one of those things. I never checked. So just find it online somewhere. I actually know a good place to buy it. You could look this up. German Auto Supply. German Auto Supply has them for around $143. Sometimes they're out of it, but usually they sell stuff on eBay, and they're gonna have anything from fuel injectors to glow plugs to some other electronic parts. You know, and they're gonna have this. They're even gonna have the transmission fluid, I believe, most likely. I haven't checked with them on it, but you could get the conductor plate from them. And this conductor plate, believe it or not, it fits many different Mercedes vehicles. Since 1995, they've been using the same conductor plate, and many of their Mercedes models that has a 5-speed transmission that's installed. So, I mean, when you kind of think about it, you have a lot of options when your transmission fails. You don't have to spend, I don't know, $7,000 on a transmission, and that actually would be too much. The reason I'm saying $7,000 on a transmission is because I've seen guys that spend $7,000. I don't know how. How would you spend $7,000 on your transmission for a brand new transmission? I just don't understand it. That's way too expensive. Here's what I'll tell you. A Mercedes dealer that's in Kentucky, right there when you're driving, you just pass Cincinnati, Ohio, and you basically you just get into Kentucky. That Mercedes dealer down there. I know this is not specific, but it's really not that important right now. If you want that information, leave it in the comments. I'll give you the exact address and the phone number to that place. But that's the place where I got my engine for $7,000. Okay, they sell a torque converter for around $900, and they sell a brand new transmission for $3,500 for the Sprinter. So I don't know who rips people off at $7,000. I just don't know. The only thing that I could tell you is they're gonna charge you a core fee, because that transmission, it's technically not brand new. They're gonna tell you it's brand new, and you're gonna say no, it's not, and they're gonna say it's brand new because, you know, it's because they're saying so, but it's remanufactured. They're gonna say it's the same thing, it's brand new. I know it's not the same thing, but technically they've used the core of the transmission. This is why they're gonna require a core. They put everything brand new in there, most likely new valve body, new solenoids, new transmission shaft, guys. And I'm back with the torque converter. So what I'm going to do is I'm gonna drain this oil, and what I want to see is if it's gonna have any shavings inside. And this is gonna give me kind of like an idea of what kind of transmission that I have removed. If it's got like these shavings of metal that's kind of shiny, kind of looking like a copper type of shavings. I mean, it's not that bad, but it's gonna give me an idea that the transmission is starting to wear a little bit. Also, you want to get the shavings out of the torque converter so that it's going to prevent it from blocking up these little tiny holes inside that it's gotta go through. I've heard there's like the little fine nets inside that if they become really dirty, then your torque converter is gonna not be that good. So what I want to do is, before I drain it, okay, since it's got right now enough fluid in there, you know, to kind of like not leak out through this hole, I'm gonna try to just like lift it up, kind of like, and try to kind of like twist it, so get the fluid moving in a circular motion to where it could pick up all this extra dirt and stuff on the walls and whatnot, so I could drain everything that I could possibly drain out of it. And I'm gonna try to drain it into some kind of clear container. Well, not a clear container, but anyways, like, so where I could drain it, we could see if there's any shavings inside. So that's next. Give it a good shake. I have my bucket here. It's not completely clean. It's got a couple stuff in there. But basically it takes a T30 type of connector. This is what I'm using here. And I'm gonna go ahead and take this bolt out and drain it into that pan. Cool, this bolt is kind of seized on there, you know. I'm not trying, I don't want to strip it, but I think it already has some wear and tear on that little hole. I'm not sure if you can see it. It's not much, but I could see inside. It's kind of, it's not exactly, you know, good. So now I'm gonna have to try to spray some stuff on it to try to, you know, get it released. What I noticed, a lot of stuff has been really tight on this printer, like including that transmission oil pan bolt. Usually it's like a no struggle to try to take those things apart, but I mean, I'm not sure whether it's not been done in a while, and possibly it hasn't. Usually nobody really changes the torque converter fluid. They consider it flush if you do it, so it might be just old. But anyways, I'm gonna try to get it off. Hey guys, it took me about a minute or two to get this bolt loose. It was actually not a struggle. Here's a nice combination what I try to use. Okay, as you can see, I got this torch here that's work off propane, and then I have some PB blaster. What I done is I first blasted around the area with PB blaster. I did not give time for it to soak in there, like you could leave it and leave it alone. So once I sprayed it on there, whether it helped or not, who knows. But I have taken this hot torch here, and around the bolt, not the actual bolt, but around the bolt, I have heated this area. Probably took me about a minute to heat it up. It did not get red or anything, but I'm pretty sure that it got hot enough. What happens is the metal heats up, it expands. So it expanded away from the bolt, allowing me to twist this bolt loose. Most likely, I'm not going to be reusing this bolt. I don't like this bolt. It's already been kind of like, it's in bad shape. I believe whoever been trying to remove it before, they struggle with it, and it's not a good thread on there. So most likely I'm just gonna stick my other bolt from other tournament on there. I don't want to have the same issue, and it being inside of the transmission will be kind of difficult to remove this bolt, because I mean, you could try to heat it through those little areas, but I mean, it just makes the job a lot harder. So I'm gonna go ahead and drain this oil. Guys, I have drained all the oil out of it. Whatever was remaining, of course, this is not the complete oil that's supposed to fit inside of the torque converter, because some of it came out since I removed the transmission from the torque converter, and it came out through this little hole, and it drained out of there. There's just not really much I could do because I could not drain it. But this is kind of like nasty looking stuff here. Somebody haven't really changed this transmission oil in a while. I mean, it's greenish, brownish look. But as I was draining it, I haven't really seen any kind of settlements in there. What I'm going to try to do is I'm going to stick a magnet down in there, and I'm going to try to see if I could collect any type of metal. I could not find a magnet, unfortunately, but I had this oil sitting here for a couple minutes. If there was any oil, most likely it has set to the bottom. So what I'm going to try to do is go pour the oil out into some kind of container, and then inspect the actual jug to see if there was anything left over in this pan, I mean. So I have poured the contents out, and I've been pouring it very slowly. There's really nothing out of the ordinary here. Some very, very, very fine shavings, but I believe they were here before, because this pan was not completely clean. What I was really looking for is distinct. They're like almost kind of like flat looking. I mean, it would be really distinct. You could see those without I mean, the magnet's not gonna pick them up. So what you want to look for is if you're gonna have like these shavings that look like copper shavings, and that's coming from internal portion of the transmission where the clutches sit. There's actually these little things, I don't know, they're kind of like bushings. They wear out, and then I'm not sure if it's gonna cause problems, but mine, I've been seeing on my Sprinter that has 1,050,000 miles on it. I've seen those shavings at 650,000 miles when I bought the Sprinter, and somebody told me that transmission only had 20,000 miles to live and it was gonna die. you know, maybe 40 if I was lucky. But guess what? It's 1,050,000 miles on it. It hasn't failed yet. So since I have this 430 mile transmission on this Sprinter, I figure it has to be in a lot better shape than mine is. So I'm gonna go ahead